All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Hello, Soul. Hello, Corbin. We are so excited to be here with all of you and to be sharing this fascinating, wonderful, divine topic. If you don't know me, my name is Jake. I'm a hypnotherapist, and I use hypnosis in a lot of ways, including helping people connect with past and future lives and connect with their higher self. And I'm joined by Corbin. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Corbin. I'm an astrologer here today to chat about the astrological connections to angels that you can find inside of your birth chart.
And Solreta, you want to share a little bit about yourself too for anyone who doesn't know you?
Thank you for having me, guys. And hi, Soul Tribe. Thank you for joining us. So I work as an international psychic that does tarot readings. I specialize in aura drawing, so really seeing beyond the veil and having communication with higher dimensions and other realms.
And hello, Carol. So good to see you. Hope you and Ben are well. And hello to everyone else joining us as well. All right, where do we want to start, guys? Where should we dive in? I know, Soul, you have a lot that you've prepared. Should we jump into your stuff?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Before we do, I just wanted to remind everyone about my fairy event coming up on Saturday. This is coming up on the 13th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So it will be the 14th morning time for all those on the other side of the world. But I'm so excited to help everyone to connect and provide this container and this space for a little bit of whimsy, a little magic, a little bit of fun for this time of year. So grab your ticket if you haven't and come join us there.
And I can't wait for that event. And I can't wait to feel the energy of the fairies there too and see if we get any on film. I think that'd be amazing if the fairies come to the party too. So yeah, just looking into this topic, and I know we were speaking backstage, this is such a huge topic. So there'll probably be part 2, maybe even more parts. I was saying to the guys backstage, I'm like, we could do part 20 of this subject. So I want you guys to have the preset, I guess, looking at this topic tonight, in that there is an interface. So if we look at our physical body just being one part of who we are, and we look at our aura, our chakras, this higher dimensional realm, if we think about the photons of light or the biomechanics of what our plasmatic energy field is, this is the telechromatic communication interface field between us and the higher realms. So I do want to start by sharing. I might need to get you guys to add this to stage if that's okay. I've got some examples of plasma. So this is the sun. And sometimes when you're taking photos, you'll get strange things show up in plasma. So we did have 2 other people taking photos in the same exact location at the same exact time. And for some reason, it just showed up in my photos. So this was in Sedona, Arizona, in a vortex point. And then we've got other ones where my gorgeous client, she's like, oh my God, so you need to have a look at your screen, because I always have myself on tiny and my clients on big. And she's like, stop and take a photo. So you can see here, there's an angel wing or a fairy wing. I have different people say different things, and there's a little bit of a plasma rainbow halo as well. So you can see it fully formed in this one as an etheric wing of light. And I think sometimes what we see with the sun's energy coming in is that it actually reflects or refracts the light in certain angles. And we start to see things that are energetically a bigger part of who we are. So I've had numerous interactions with angels. I work with angels, and we can stop that screen share for the meantime, if that's okay. So yeah, having numerous interactions with angels. Do you guys want to talk about that side of things first, like personal experiences, or do you want to step into sort of like some of the people communicating throughout history? Happy to go where you guys want.
I feel like personal connection is a great place to start. I mean, I think that with a lot of these connections, it starts personally. It starts with you and the ways that you connect. So I think that's a great place to start.
Well, and someone had mentioned it in the chat about synchronicity around this topic. And I feel like this whole show snowballed out of a synchronicity where Jake and I went back and forth, and then we reached out to Soul, and it was, oh my gosh, me too. And I think we were entirely led here through synchronicity. So I wanted to acknowledge that.
Oh, yeah.
But truly the personal experiences and the ways that we're hearing it inside of sessions and from clients, it is increasing more and more recently, I feel like.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's really important to talk about too is discernment. That's like my top note that I've got for today's show. So there's other shows out there that we've seen over the years that are talking about perhaps angels not being entirely good or even demonizing them. So this is where discernment is key. I do not agree with some of those shows and some of the information that's shared on some of those shows. I always, myself, being clairvoyant from as young as I can remember, so since birth, and it's also been told to me by other clairvoyants and other, I guess, people that work in the same realm that these skills are usually when a child comes in having these gifts switched on, it's because they've worked super, super hard in multiple different lifetimes. And so that just organically, naturally comes through. So talking birth chart wise, I've got 3 yods, which is fingerprint of God. So there's 3 of them, and there's only a 3% chance of one of them showing up. So I do feel that this is sort of also like decoded in my birth chart to do with speaking and talking on these topics, as well as doing it for 45 years now. There's a bit of experience working with some of the realms, but yeah, discernment is key. So always asking if we're having an interaction, whether it's an angelic being or a guide, or connecting with, beings of light that we see, or any other kind of entity, fairy, elemental, whatever spectrum we're talking about. It's always saying, do you love me unconditionally? Or are you here for my best and highest good? Always checking in 3 times, because there's universal law that beings cannot lie if you've asked 3 times, and you'll get like a trickster feeling if it is more of an entity that is deceiving or just wanting to like entertain themselves or has a dark malefic intention. And also when we're working with angels, remembering that it's not something that they can come in and help with unless we ask. So we actually need to ask for divine intervention and for their help. And I just want to say hi to Soul Tribe. It's so nice to have you guys here in the chat as well. We appreciate you. So yeah, as part of this, I have actually one of my experiences. So I'll talk about one first. So one of the most beautiful angelic experiences was watching my oldest daughter, who's now 25. She was 6 months at the time, just playing on her little playmat, learning to sit up. She had quite the large head, so she'd topple over. And I was just watching her sort of play, and she looked kind of like a little shiny Buddha, just this cute, gorgeous ray beam of light. And I just for a second caught a glimpse of an angel that was as tall as the roof. Beautiful, angelic gold, this like awe-inspiring presence. And as soon as I saw it, it was gone. It was almost like, oh, you weren't meant to see me, and then just disappeared. So I do believe that we all have our own guardian angels, and I believe that's what I saw with her that day. Some of them, if we look into the old days of theosophy and we look into Rudolf Steiner and Alice Bailey's work and things, you'll hear about the golden solar angel, which is sort of like our connection to our higher self, is what it's said to be like an extension of that, or that the golden solar angel is perhaps our higher self. Either way, that was one of the, I guess, more amazing interactions. And another one was when that same daughter was 3 years old, and she was not feeling too well, and she was laying on the couch. I was at my parents' house at the time, and all of a sudden I saw her fixate on the wall, and clairvoyantly I saw this portal open up on the wall, and she went into this weird kind of like trance fixed state, and I felt her energy start to go into the portal. All of a sudden she started to have a febrile convulsion, which was like a seizure. And being a young mom, luckily I had a background in natural medicine, so I did know a little bit, and I wasn't as freaked out as maybe having not had knowledge of things like that. But yeah, still so scary. So she actually stopped breathing. Her body went limp, lifeless. I picked her up, ran into the next room where my mum was. And I'm like, oh my God, mum, she's not breathing. Her lips were turning blue, still emotional talking about it. And for whatever reason, I don't know what it was. I had her laying on the side, you know how you have recovery position, had her laying on her side. And as soon as I said, angels, please help, these two beautiful, angelic, golden presences scooped in from a higher plane. As soon as they whooshed past her body, was like this inhalation, and she started breathing again. It was one of the most scary experiences of my life. She went on to have 13 convulsions in that year. So it was just super scary thing, but it was a time of where I knew that there was angelic protection and guidance. And as much as I did not sleep over those couple of years, I mean, it was mainly that one intense year. But yeah, so that was probably one of the most profound angelic experiences of actually calling on help and seeing them show up. It just, yeah, it still gives me goosebumps and chills to this day. Yeah. So did you guys want to share your experiences?
Oh, sure. I mean, along the lines of guardian angels, one of the most profound experiences that stuck with me was when I was out. I had lived out in California for a while after high school, and so this was about a decade ago. And I'd gone to a different train stop than I normally go. You know, Bay Area has their transportation, the train system. And I went to a different train station than I normally do because I was going to meet a friend at their house, and I was waiting for them to pick me up. And it was evening time, and this train station was not like the most friendly of part of the city. And I left the train station to go over to a Walgreens to grab something. And as I was walking into the store, there was a couple of these guys who were like hustling this woman, asking her for money, asking her to use their phone. They had this whole big story, and I was like, I really don't want to interact with these people. I don't want to deal with this. Like, just really not wanting to engage. After I came out of the store, I saw them heading towards the train station, and that was the direction I had to go. And so I was like, shoot, hopefully I don't run into them. Well, as I was going on that path, back, they had turned around and they started to come up to me and approach me. And then as soon as they saw me, they like said, oh, sorry, never mind, and like left. And it was the strangest thing. I mean, I'm like 20 years old. I'm not like, I mean, I'm sure I'm tall, but I'm not necessarily like a threatening figure per se. But the sense that I got, especially tuning back into that from the perspective I have now with a little bit more awareness of the subtler realms, the impression that I have definitely was that I had my guardian angels standing behind me. Like when I tune in, I can see two just huge figures behind me and protecting me in that moment, because I wasn't meant to interact with those people and I didn't want to. And so it was a moment where I didn't even necessarily specifically ask for the angels' help, but they were there supporting. And it was just such a beautiful experience, especially now looking back, having the knowledge I do.
That's incredible. Yeah, I just felt goosebumps when you were talking about when they're like, oh, sorry, never mind.
Oh, yeah. It was the strangest thing.
Yeah. Oh my
How about you,
gosh.
Corbin? Do you have a story?
Yeah, well, I listened back. Jake has shared this story a little bit on his channel. He and I did a future life progression at the end of last year. And I progressed into the future, into a lifetime where I was incarnated as an angel. And it was a really fascinating session that I listened back to today that like kind of unlocked quite a few things for me. And it's been about a year since the session, so it's cool to see how things evolve over time. But essentially, I was in the future. It was after some sort of cataclysmic event had happened here on Earth, and Earth was going through a restoration process. And I lived in a kind of like cloud city with my Pegasus horse, who was like a good friend and a partner in crime of mine. And essentially in this cloud city, myself and a handful of other angels, we had the task of spinning light that was being transmitted from above in this like giant golden pillar that was coming down to essentially our dimensional level. And what we did was we essentially just played with that light. To the angels, it was fun. It was singing, it was dancing, it was making merry. And through that, we would change the light and transmit it and be able to send it down to Earth for healing, essentially. And in connecting with that lifetime today, there was this breastplate that I wore as an angel, and it had actually like a winged Pegasus on it. And at the end, we did this thing where we tapped into the breastplate, and it was part of anchoring in this sense of positivity and courage and bravery. And anyways, it really helped me to reflect on some of the physical journeys that I've been in this last year, and like my desire to start working out again and building up a chest or something like that. But it was really cool how, like, reflecting on how I've seen how there's been a lot of changes in my life since that. But this session opened more than that for me. It unlocked a connection with the angels that I've had like so much more closely to me now inside of the last year. I grew up with a little bit of religious trauma that I turned away from for a period. And since this session, it's really helped me to like reconnect with the angelics in a positive way and in a way that works for me. So I just really love how now calling on the angels is kind of like a tool, or I often imagine myself wrapped up in my wings to, I don't know, restore my body or protect myself. So I'm really thankful for that session.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh, I have to share another one if that's okay with you guys.
Oh, please, yeah.
So I'd finished college, and then I was helping set up another vibrational medicine school. This would have been back when I was 21. And so meeting other people in the physical for the first time that also spoke light language. So when you get together with others and you're in the same physical room and you speak light language, you totally transport to another dimension. Quite often the whole physical room will disappear and you're just sort of standing in this celestial space. So I was around some really interesting people, but what we discovered was all around each of us was about 21 when we started to feel these wings like popping out of our back. So that was an interesting angelic experience. But I also want to talk about another experience with a client session. So I had this client session, and we had this beautiful angelic being show up behind her in her aura. And I saw the angel actually pass a crystal. And so when you're working with higher dimensional beings, they communicate more with what I would call is sort of like telethought or like an empathic feel, as well as I fully clairvoyantly see them too. So it's like you're getting a multitude of senses. Anyway, they passed her this crystal and were saying that to meditate upon this crystal, and this is to be used as a communication device. Anyway, they gave me a phrase after the session. I think it was a Nokian language. I can't remember exactly what I typed in. Anyway, I popped it into YouTube, and all of a sudden this video came up talking about John Dee, and I just looked up the date as well. Let me just see if I can find it. So John Dee would actually like scire into crystals and things. Oh, I don't think I wrote it down. I think it was like 50 in the 1500s or something like that. Don't quote me on that. You will be able to Google it. But anyway, so he was working with trying to bring through a Nokian language and connect with the angels. And Archangel Uriel apparently appeared and gave him a purple crystal and said that it was to be used as a communication device to contact the crystals in this higher dimensional realm. So there's stories of people having angel communication even way, way back. I just thought that was so interesting. And when we look to other people, in theosophy, so you've got Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who was a big part of I think it was the Cottingham fairy photos and things, which they said were fake, but who knows? Who knows for sure? But he gave a lot of lectures and things before that time on the angels. And so there was a lot of people doing mediumship and things that were also talking about the angels. J.J. Hurtak talks about it in the Keys of Enoch. And he's the one that, for me, being, I guess a contactee on the ET level, but also like the angelic realms, he probably best describes how the actual physical, telethought thing takes place. You've got Alice Bailey, Rudolf Steiner. And if I can get you guys to pop up this little photo, if we can screen share. So let me just pop my little window here. So in Waldorf schools and Steiner schools, you quite often will have, not always the children learning the veil painting, but sometimes it's the parents or teachers that are doing these sorts of paintings. So you can see here Archangel Michael, who's one of my favorites and quite often have contact with. But the veil painting is, if we think about like the spiritual veils that we're in the physical, it's like we're piercing through or seeing into these realms and these dimensions. So I just wanted to share because they have a sort of beautiful essence and quality. The other one that I wanted to share would be you can find online. I didn't want to spend too much time on it because I want to share personal experiences and things, but you'll find the 9 choirs of angels. So the seraphim, the cherubim, the thrones, dominions, virtues, powers, principalities, archangels, and angels. And you'll be able to research and dive into it more. We might expand and go into it in another show, but there's so many beautiful depictions of angels that we see throughout Renaissance artwork and even artwork to this day as well. But yeah, I've had a few dreams where I've called on Archangel Michael or called on angels, and they've shown up and been able to dissipate. And like, I'm talking about a dream that's not a dream. So it's like where you're having like a supernatural experience. I've got a little voice recording that maybe we either share later on. It does go for a couple of minutes. But yeah, we'll see how we go. We might share that in the future show. Do you guys want to share something as well? Is there any other things that are synchronizing?
Yeah, I've had a couple of things, so we'll see what I remember by the end of this first one. But when you talk about calling on the angels' protection, most recently, and this was one of the synchronicities that caused us to plan this show, Corbin and I were at a concert, and we were, and this is in like a big warehouse type. It's called the Armory, and it is definitely an old world building. It was built, during the Tartarian ages, I'm pretty sure. And it's just huge inside. And so lots and lots of people. And we typically get there earlier than most. And then we end up being packed in by all the people that come in behind us. And we were stuck in the midst of just some rowdy, rude people and people on drugs who could not handle themselves. And it was just like a really tense situation. There was a couple of fights that almost broke out around us. There was a couple of people just like elbowing, and it was horrible. And I was getting so frustrated. I was at the point of like, okay, I just want to leave. And I don't know if I said something to you or if you just picked up on it, but Corbin said to me, focus on your shoulder blades, and like you're putting your wings up around you. And so I did, and that worked for a moment, but then people started pressing back in, and then I'd focus on it again and it'd work for a moment, and then they press back in. And so I was just getting frustrated. And then I was like, wait, why am I trying to do this on my own? Let's just call in the real troops here. And so I called on the angels to come protect. And I saw the wings like enfold me, and it was instantaneous. Like the rest of the concert was just smooth sailing. There was no one rowdy around us. Everyone was polite and calm. It was just like an instant switch. We actually got to dance. So it was just such a tangible, real moment of like calling on that real life protection and having it manifest instantly. And it was just so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. I love that.
I love that too. I had actually forgotten about that. But, like I had said, that session with Jake really opened up a way that I could functionally work with angels. And earlier this spring, I was on a work trip in a city that just was not great for me energetically. I was struggling physically in a lot of ways. And it was during that time that I started building this technique of wrapping myself in the wings, calling on my angels, and it also works at the club.
That's so cute. I love that. Oh, that's awesome. And it is important as well to actually use our angel wings. And that's what I discovered, at 21, that same feeling of like around, just wrapping yourself in your wings of light. And that's part of the experience in that dream that I had as well, where it's interesting. I do feel, and I've seen this, to do with like the DNA testing and things that were done a couple of years ago. I have heard, whether it's a conspiracy or not, I love conspiracy. So, quite happy to go down that rabbit hole. But I have heard that they're actually looking for angelic DNA. So, that's an interesting thing. I've heard they're looking for alien DNA as well. So who knows what they're looking for. But yeah, I think that's another fascinating rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that was another thing that I thought of as you were talking, and so I'm glad that you reminded me. I'd love to hear your take, Sol, because Corbin and I had this really profound, beautiful experience lately with, and I have a piece of her art. Lauren, who's been on my channel, Lauren Aroni of Blue Star Transmissions. This is her, what is it? The Archangel Michael's Electric Blue Flame is this artwork. But we were doing an event of hers, a light language activation event. And this was, it was around the Pleiadians, but what was like the main focus of it?
Oh, that's a good question. I just remember the dolphins so much.
I remember the dolphins too. But anyway, it doesn't really matter those finer details. But essentially part of it was tapping in and connecting with our Pleiadian connections, our guides, our assisters in that process, in that activation. And Lauren at one point said, oh, well, and some of you are tapping into and connecting with your Pleiadian angelic guides. Yeah. And that was not a concept or a group of beings that I had been familiar with. I mean, separately, sure, Pleiadians and angelics, but together I hadn't. Mm-hmm. And through the course of that meditation, at one point, I saw myself flying. I had wings just like them, the same body as them, and I was flying with them through the sky. And it was a moment where I just knew. I was like, oh, I'm there right now. Oh, this is a parallel lifetime, and I'm connecting to that aspect of me. And it was just such a profound feeling.
When I remember as we were getting there, it's like I was dialing into something, but still getting like a fuzzy connection. And the moment that she said Pleiadian angelics, it just like boom into total vision. And yeah, it was just such a profound moment that afterwards we both were like, hey, what's going on? And so yeah, we definitely wanted to kind of touch on your knowledge and wisdom. You really are our main connection to the
angelics and the stars. I'm really ET angelic connection. So would love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, so I always describe the Pleiadians being kind of more embodying an angelic essence. So when we look at their heart energy and then the energy that they bring forth, they do have this higher angelic presence. So in my galactic sessions that I do online, I use this little pie chart that I've made. So these are some of the more, I guess you would say, interactions that come to the surface a lot more in a galactic session. So you have the angelics, the Pleiadians that have like angelic energy. It's different to like the biblical angels. So like there's different fractions of angelic energy, just like how we went through before. There's different fractions of the nine. So you can see here, I've actually got galactic angelic. So that's different to the Pleiadian energy, although the Pleiadians can also hold that angelic essence. So when we look into galactic angelic, which I'm getting a high pitch as we talk about it, we're talking about beings that reside around 8th dimension and beyond. I usually see between 8th and 13th dimension. Not that they sort of see it in that way, but it's like our human mind sometimes like to perceive things in that way. But when I look clairvoyantly into the realms and I see them, imagine beautiful angels that have like a golden frequency and presence, but you're looking at wings that have almost like a fractal, like dragonflies, you see that rainbow kind of fractalness. So I typically see them with more kind of like gold, pink, and turquoise wings. So like really high frequency, almost like upper chakra type colors. And yeah, sometimes you see them around crystalline cities. Sometimes it's like crystalline caves. These are places that you can go to. And I do have this Soul Star meditation for free on YouTube. You can ask to go visit the galactic angelic realm. So yeah, in a galactic session, which I do have 20% off just for the month of December. It's like my Christmas gift to everyone. So I don't usually do 20% off. So it's definitely a time to take advantage. So for all of my psychic readings, just use the discount code MAGIC20, just written in caps. It'll probably be in some of the other videos and links in Facebook or wherever. But yeah, so we look into the different fractions. So another way to describe, I guess, the dimensionality of energy, we're existing here in the 3rd dimension where my little hand is. And then we look up here and we're looking at things that are more 4, 5D and beyond. You then have beings that have Christos or Christ consciousness energy, which are coming out even higher than this Andromeda galaxy or where we have some of these galactics. So there are a lot of clients that also have this higher frequency. They're usually the ones that feel quite homesick and feel like that their hearts are misunderstood. They bring in such a beautiful unconditional love. You know, if we talk about other ascended masters and beings that have walked the earth, or that we have amazing, incredible stories about, like Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Kuan Yin, they're just a couple to sort of talk about that embodiment of Christos or Christ consciousness energy. Now, it is the beings that have this embodiment that have aurically this gorgeous interface that communicates and connects with the angelic realm. So that's sort of as a map, how it all kind of, I guess, ties together or works together energetically. But yeah, I do go in depth and personalize it in sessions for anyone that's interested in really kind of getting to know themselves on a deeper level and looking into your soul mission. And I know that you guys also work in a similar way, Jake, with doing the hypnosis, and Corbin being able to kind of dial into like your birth, your script or your code that you're given at birth. That's like your stamp for your role and your mission here too. So yeah, does that make sense how I'm describing it, and sort of like how we interface and connect with all that?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm really reminded of some dialogue that I had with a client's higher self, where I was trying to get to the bottom of like the difference or the distinction between higher self and source, and higher self and source and guides, and just trying to get their take on like, oh, you know, who should we connect with, or like, is it better to connect with our higher self or our guides, or is there a difference between connecting to higher self and source? And it basically boiled down to, you guys, you humans really love your labels, and you love your buckets, and you love to separate things and make it, you know, make sense to you. We don't really care. It's not really all that different. And they said, you know, guides are a different manifestation, but at their core, we are all one. It is all the same. But especially that distinction between higher self and source, they said it's negligible. You're basically contacting the same energy. And I feel a similar message with kind of the ways that we try to compartmentalize and label these other beings, these extra dimensional beings, because it helps us to feel more stable and like we understand or we know. But I think it's just a fraction of the truth.
Yeah, and I think that we try and put things into a level of which we can sort of 3D grasp or perceive. And in the Keys of Enoch, I don't know what page to be, there is like letters that are written in flames. So Rudolf Steiner also talks about this as well. And that's why I sort of gravitate more towards their works to look for like the truth of things. Not that I've read the whole thing yet. I am dyslexic, so I use this as an oracle, and Spirit tells me exactly what page to go to, and that's how I extract the information that I need. It is on the list. Maybe for one day if the internet goes down, I've got a good book to read. But you know, as a clairvoyant, this is something, the way that they describe things on an energetic level and kind of the interface and the way things appear, experiencing these things as a young child and not having anyone to be able to talk to about this, I know that they're the real deal when it comes to like really streaming through the truth and the information. But yeah, as we said before, like always using discernment is key. Yeah.
Did you have something you wanted to add to that? Otherwise, I really want to hear about the Archangel stars, since we mentioned astrology.
Yeah.
Can we dive into that?
We should jump into that, because so many people have referenced Michael already and have talked about the associations that go with this. So one of the things that I did, you know, I knew we were talking about angels, and immediately I thought about the 4 royal stars that are in astrology. These are fixed stars, so they're always in the same spot because they're super duper far away. And so it's not like, you know, a planet that's transiting and moving around. They're always in one set spot. But they're associated with the archangels, and they actually have like a funny name as the Watchers, which we associate with angels as well. And so the first one to mention here would be the star for Archangel Michael, which is Aldebaran. You might be familiar with that. It's located in the earlier degrees of Gemini at about 9 Gemini. And when working with fixed stars, I always like to use like a 2 to 3 degree orb, So I would say, anywhere from like 6, 7 Jemmy to maybe 11. And we have Soul smiling already because she's like, oh, that's me.
And I'm thinking of 6, 7, like, the kids, what they do. But yeah, no, I was connecting, like everything you're saying. I'm like, oh, I feel like I've got a connection to this star.
Yes.
Aldebaran is one of the royal stars we talk about on my list as well. And it's where some of these higher essence energies come through into our Andromeda galaxy. We'll see them have connections there.
Well, and it's associated with the blue ray, and so earlier someone in the chat mentioned Michael and like blue sequins or something like that. And our picture over here was blue as well. But a lot of people also talked about Michael or Aldebaran in the sense of like calling in protection. Michael always has his sword. And so folks that have close placements to this might feel a really strong connection to Michael. Or inside of their lives, the theme of moral integrity might be really important to them. Because for these folks, it's really about choosing love over fear and working for the best and highest good of all. And as I started like collecting this stuff about Aldebaran, and then I peeked at your chart, of course, Sol, and it's right next to your ascendant. It's right by your rising. And I just thought that this was such a good example of our Solreta. I definitely think of you as a teacher and a kind of like a moral beacon for a lot of folks inside of our community. So yeah, just warm fuzzies. But I learned about the blue ray from you. You really are kind of like a beacon for Michael energy.
Oh, thank you. There's so many experiences connected to Michael that I could tell you from like way back. But yeah, that just really emotionally hits me in such a beautiful place. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one. Michael's also associated with the Rohini. So I know you talk about the lunar mansions.
That's my sign.
Yeah. So there you go. That was
another layer.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
The second, if we're just going through the wheel, the second one to show up would be Regulus. And I think a lot of folks are familiar with Raphael, or kind of like the king energy that we have here. Regulus is at 29 Leo, and I think a lot of us are familiar with that degree. Trump, right? Also Pelosi and Vance, everyone is kind of like a 29 Leo. But we can already see how some of our modern day kings have tie-ins to this degree point. But anyway, so what is Raphael all about? Well, it's the green ray. It's the divine king or the divine healer. It's green like our heart chakra. And so it's really this idea that true leadership heals, that being in your sovereignty, and being connected to that message of healing that you can kind of bring from being in authenticity and being inside of truth. The tough part of this one is like kind of being focused on revenge. And so, just making sure that you are staying in that purity of your light is something that would be really important for anyone who has something, late Leo, early Virgo. This would be where we find Raphael. Jake, this is opposite your Mars. So I don't know if there's a way that like healing is, kind of the antithesis or the other side of something that you do. But this was another one, like Sol, your sun is right here inside of the end of Leo. So
wow, it's so amazing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what is my like association or connection to Leos in that sense, and I feel like some of the shadows can be really triggery to me in like the ways that you can be self-inflated or think too much of yourself or be like disrespectful or like crass to the masses because you're just focused on your own message or your own self. So I feel like an opposition could suggest that sort of energetic tension for sure.
Well, and it's a great topic for anyone who has placements near these royal stars, because you see the brightest light, you also have the opportunity to experience the darkest shadow. And so there's really a very wide range of expression associated with these stars, just because you can have the highest high, but also, you know, the lowest low on the flip side of it. So, but these people really are here to teach us about, you know, both sides of the coin.
So fascinating.
Yeah, so the third royal star would be Antares, or we mentioned Uriel earlier. I've also heard people refer to him as Oriel, but this is the association with the light of God. We have this in the early degrees of Sagittarius, about 9 Sag, so anywhere between 7 to 11. And this is really associated with those who are future focused, who hold the light of God, who have the vision of God. So this can show up in a lot of ways of being a great planner, being a great visionary, being very strategic. It's associated with the golden ray. And earlier we were talking about ascended masters. This is one of the 4 fixed stars that carries the deepest connection with the ascended masters. Since we're in the sign of Sagittarius, you know, it has a little bit of that teacher element to it, a little bit of that knowledge, wisdom, the light of God. So if you find yourself with any placements in the early degrees of Sagittarius, you can probably connect in just fine there. And then our last royal star is...
Sorry to interject.
Go ahead.
Did you say Antares? I just want to see that. That's mind-blowing. So like I've got Antares on my little chart as well. So my last name, Antaria, is connected to Antares. It's just blowing my personal little world right now. But I always see this as a point of, you know, it's sometimes talked about in, I think, Vedic to do with, you know, war or like the sister planet to Mars. And I'm like, no, it's the place where they've maybe experienced the harshness of that and they're moving away to hold this golden light, to hold and to be like a pillar of peace and an example for, it's just, you're blowing my mind. I love it.
Antares would be anti-Aries. And so what you're saying here, you know, the antithesis of Mars essentially being, I've been there, I've done that, I've experienced that, and now I'm moving beyond it to a place of, you know, unity, heart-centeredness, coming together. So yeah, I love that because it actually is about putting the sword down. You know, the shadow side of this though would be too much focus and obsession over that fight, right? This could lead to like a holy war, or, you know, calling on the name of God to do something that you shouldn't be doing, essentially.
Fascinating.
The last one, where Jake and I have a lot of our own placements, this is in the sign of Pisces, would be Fomahat, and that is known as the messenger of God. So this is really associated with mystics, messengers, prophets, that kind of a thing. It's found at 4 degrees of Pisces. And so if you have anything between like 2 and 6, this can definitely, that energy can show up for you. Great for, you know, spiritual expression, art, inspiration, being that messenger, bringing in and kind of communicating on behalf. So when I saw this for me, I definitely was like, oh, yeah, I mean, that's part of like what I try to do with astrology, is like communicate information from source to others. Jake, how do you connect with being the messenger of God?
Well, I glanced at, because I couldn't remember exactly where and what in my chart was at early degrees of Pisces, and it's Mars and Saturn. And I immediately thought of Saturn as structure. And I was like, oh, well, I provide the structure within my sessions for that higher self message to come through, for that God message to come through. So that's what I thought of originally, was that way. But I think also part of what I'm stepping into and growing in is bringing through those messages myself, being that channel. I mean, my light language is coming online. I mean, I'm feeling more and more confident in like the messages that I share. And so I think that is definitely a part of my soul's arc in this incarnation.
Oh, that's so cool.
So yeah,
I've got my midhaven there, but I don't know what degree it's at. But I love Pisces people.
Oh, and so
we love you too.
I even wrote that down, that it's in your 10th house and it's really closely aspected to your ascendant too. So yeah, I mean, there's a way that this shows up for the whole group here. If anyone's interested in talking about this inside of your own chart, you know, hit me up on my site, piscesportals.com. We can definitely talk about the 4 royal stars inside of your chart. there's a lot here that can also talk about your starseed connections as well. I mean, of course, Solreta had those on her map as well, so we can kind of go that direction too. But it's really wonderful to see how, astrology can be used to connect all the dots.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like decoding your soul is what I feel like when you go down that rabbit hole of astrology. Yeah. It's so interesting. And also like decoding the patterns. If you've had trouble or different things with certain areas of life, sometimes it's, karmic. And I really feel that astrology is one of those tools that can help you unlock that pattern to sort of maybe stop repeating it or stop attracting certain things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Even in doing this research and reading about Fomalhaut, the last one, the tough side of that can be associated with like this know-it-all energy or hubris. And boy, oh boy, was that like a good check for me, because I know that inside of like my corporate world and in some other lanes, like I can get that way sometimes. And so it was nice to have that reflected back at me as like, oh, you have a tendency for this. And, to also further understand that when you're in that lane, then you can't actually be projecting the light accurately. And so I just love astrology as a tool for reflection, for growth, for understanding all of the above.
That's so intriguing. Oh, and speaking of the 4 royal stars, or talking about like the 4 archangels that we mainly see, you guys might need to help me on this. Michael, Uriel, Gabriel, Raphael. Yeah. Yep. So I've been to one of my gorgeous friends who's a bit more witchy. She's done like where you call in the corners and you, I guess like you're working with invoking the archangels. It was phenomenal, the energy that I felt at this little event that she held. And like right when she called in air, all of a sudden like the air whipped up. And we were doing a ceremony where it was like letting go of things. So we actually used ice, and it was to melt and to let things dissipate. And I can't remember what I was going through at the time, but I remember the girls giving me my little bowl of ice. And by the time I went from like the table to sit down, my ice was gone. Everyone else has lasted 20 minutes. And they're like, so we'll give you some more ice. And I'm like, maybe like I've already dissolved it. Maybe it's like just ready to be done. The interesting thing was it was on a solstice portal. And my grandmother actually energetically came in as an orb that night in the circle and passed later that night. It was like just an extreme powerful night. But yeah, the calling of the archangels, oh my gosh, it was just an amazing experience.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And it reminds me of, it was a couple months ago. I was having just like a terrible, like anxiety ridden like night, and was trying to fall asleep. And I remember just like being, again, so frustrated and reaching out and saying, okay, Michael, come in. I need your protection. I need you to envelop me in safety and calm and peace. And it was, again, like an instantaneous switch, and was able to fall asleep smoothly. I feel like the archangels, especially those that you resonate with and that you feel that connection to, working with them and calling them in is so powerful, and can be a way of tapping into that divine energy and helping channel that into your even just daily life.
Mm-hmm. And I love that your guys are talking about like the different correspondences, because that's what I love astrology for. It helps to kind of create this golden chain that runs through all meanings. And, so yes, the archangels have elements, they have directions, they have seasons associated with them. So you don't just have to use the blue ray for Michael. It could be the direction east, or it could be meditating on the vernal equinox as a great kind of portal to tap into that. And so, yeah, I just love.
Oh, and thank you, Emma, for sharing our links as well. We so appreciate that. And we appreciate each and every one of you in the chat as well. It's so nice to hang out. Mm-hmm. And we were just saying backstage, just about like in-person retreats and things like that, like how cool it would be because I would really love to come over to the States again next year. But we were saying like how cool it would be to be in person. So I've actually started doing readings in person again. I start today in a crystal shop that's local. So I just feel like Yeah, it's like I miss you guys, but I haven't even met you in person. But I know that you're a soul family, and I feel like these chats are bringing us together as close as we can be, in the physical. So yeah, I just want to say, like, I really sense the energy of our tribe, and I'm just so grateful that everyone's here.
Yeah, definitely echo that. And it's really funny because I'm seeing in so many disparate people and people's lives, like really that shift towards the physical, and whether it be getting a new job that's in person, or choosing to bring your readings in person. I've definitely had more and more opportunities to do things in person here, and I spent a long time like, no, I want remote, I want digital, I want to be, anywhere and be able to connect. And the universe was like, no, you need to be physically in person. I said, no, that's not what I want. Come on. And now that I'm doing that, I'm seeing the value of that. And, being in someone else's aura, sharing energy in that way, I think is powerful. And, we understand the quantum. We know that the space is not what we always perceive it to be, but we are also a part of the physical and the 3D.
Yeah.
And so when we get together physically, there is a difference.
Yeah, I definitely feel as a soul tribe, we're working towards it. I can see the comments as well. Tina saying, would love to see everyone in person. And yeah, I do feel it's going to happen. Maybe we need to put out as a soul tribe and just ask for angelic intervention and help to bring this together.
Yeah. Everyone, pool your energy. Let's manifest this, because
I just felt there was a reason why I had to mention something about like all of us in person. But yeah, maybe we ask for that angelic help.
I love it. I did want to mention along the lines of astrology and angel connections. I keep thinking of it, so I'm going to bring it up. In the future session that I did, where I had my friend Jennifer progress me into the future, and we looked at 100 years out, one of the pieces of information that came through was around astrology. And this was specifically because the future that I saw, there was a lot of ET beings interacting with us and living with us on Earth. There was very much interspecies intermingling. And Jennifer asked just such a great question. She was like, so do these ET beings bring like a new astrology to us? Do they bring new astrology information? Like, I'm just so curious. And the sense that I got was that they did bring new interpretations, a new way of looking at things, but they learned more from us because they were on Earth now. And so the astrology was Earth astrology that they were adapting to. But the sense that I was getting was that astrology does change in the ways that we interact with and understand the information changes. And the way that information was conveyed to me was I saw this angelic being just like up in the clouds, spreading his wings, and it was just like the sense of like information flowing down. And I'm getting chills while I'm talking about it, because I feel like a lot of people are familiar with the idea that the Elohim, or one of the angels, essentially taught us astrology. And so the sense that I got was that there was going to be another kind of round of downloads or another round of teaching to bring us to a new level. And so I thought that was really interesting to see, and to get that message from the angelics in the session like that. I'd love to hear anyone's thoughts on that.
Yeah, I've drawn a picture of it actually, of more kind of like the ET side of things. Sorry guys, I've been in sessions all week, so it does do a bit to my throat. But yeah, no, that's so synchronistic to things that I've seen with future, and had that same kind of conversation with spirit around, what about if you're living on Venus or like other, galaxies or other dimensions? Do they have astrology? And they have, I guess, different ways with divination, and yeah, but they each have their own kind of, I guess, system. But yeah, fascinating. What about you, Corbin?
I was just thinking, yeah, I mean, it'll be fascinating to see how this all changes eventually. But Barakiel, that was the name of the fallen angel that supposedly taught us astrology. But, in my research, I was reading this paper by Robert Hand. He is an astrologer who was involved in Project Hindsight, which was a lot of where most of the Hellenistic material that I study comes from. There was a big movement in the early 90s to go back to the original source texts from Greek and to translate those directly rather than be working with a translation off a translation off a translation. And so that's where a lot of my nuggets come from. It's kind of like how a lot of people are going back to like indigenous wisdom. And so one of the things that Robert Hand mentioned about angels specifically was this concept of working through telepathy, you know, that angels are an aspect of wisdom and intellect that speak to us telepathically. And I actually had this pulled up from something that Sol had said earlier, but to read from this paper, guardian angels impart on us their good influences by telepathically acting upon our imaginations and forming our intellect. So, you know, that's all to say that, you know, that idea, that spark of wisdom, that nudge, you know, that's your guardian angel pulling on you. It can be so subtle in ways. It doesn't have to be, you know, kind of like this grand vision or anything. And that, you know, the angels really do impart wisdom to us or show us the light, and often it can be subtle.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a beautiful message, and I think it's, you know, it also is the synchronicities that are aligned with those soft messages too, that sometimes can be like, you know, we talk about angel numbers like 444 or, you know, 777, like all of the ones, and it's so interesting to see, like, you know, the ones that we repetitively also receive. I was just feeling the need to have a look into if there's a message.
Me too. Literally, I was like, Sol, speaking of messages, we need to ask the cards.
That angelic energy coming in, going, we need to like have a look. So we already had one card jump out. Let me see what else we've got. So the first thing that I'm seeing as I'm touching the cards, they're showing me what looks to be a crown chakra. But if we imagine it as sort of like one circle with another circle and each getting sort of like smaller. So they're talking about telepathic waveform in regards to communication with them. So a lot of this is about us rising up in terms of like our energetic bodies and strengthening our core in terms of connection. They are also showing me if we can connect with our angelic oversoul as well, that it will help to solidify that communication, that connection, and to stream through these messages in higher forms of consciousness state. So what they're showing me is it's kind of like we're connecting with, I guess some people would say it's like higher self or the golden solar angel. So they're talking about strengthening connection with this first, and then that opens up a world of communication with the angelic realm. So it's like we first need to, I guess, get strong in ourselves. So I'll flip these cards over. And the one that fell out is really interesting, actually, because it is the world or the universe. So different name, different deck. But see how she's got this Kundalini snake energy, and she's trying to control the light, the way it's coming in. It's almost like shielding her from it. So this is more kind of like about collapsing that, surrendering that, our preconceived notions around what we think things are. And it's almost like we need to surrender into this so that the light can actually come in, whether it's coming into our aura, our chakras, having this energetic upgrade. We've done other shows where we've talked about biophoton energy to do with the food that we eat and that plasma sunlight going into the food. This is also another important way because we want to hold more light capacity in order to make that. If we think about the internet and old dial-up days compared to like, you know, I don't know what you guys call it over there. I think we're currently on NBN. We're usually a bit behind you guys. But yeah, what we see here too is this beautiful celestial star energy, but we also see this etheric golden mansion. So, you know, when we talk about angelic, so we talk about spiritual dimensions, there is what's talked about to do with, you know, going to spiritual mansions. It's Dr. Joshua David Stone has written about, you know, spiritual mansions or like planes of dimension. And I've covered that in other shows. So we need to sort of get ourselves in a resonance where we can like enter these higher dimensional spaces. So we've got Queen of Swords, most important to ask, but what she has too with this beautiful translucent or almost like gossamer silk chest plate or breastplate. So interesting, the synchronicity with what Corbin was talking about. It's like we actually need to come into this divine surrendering, but this sense of also having strength and belief and trust in self. So we don't want to be calling at it from a place of, I'm not sure if this is safe to contact or anything. It's like we need surety to strengthen and solidify that connection. So you put out your pre-work, which is, I only wish to connect with those that love me unconditionally. And yeah, if you're feeling any interaction come back in, you're always using your, do you love me unconditionally? And you're doing it 3 times. So what we're seeing with the 10 of coins is this is sort of like activating us into this beautiful space. With the 10 of coins, we also see Mercury at the top with communication. So it's like we need to get into that space of sort of exalted light, is the word Spirit's giving me. And that's also, we've got Archangel Michael here with this beautiful green heart chakra energy, and we see the Cancerian messages. So this is supposed to be another realm with this peacock realm. So he's coming, bringing messages from this realm into our world. But yeah, with the 10 of coins, for me, sometimes this is also about, or 10 of pentacles, it's also about, it's a connection of wealth, but we're not necessarily talking about monetary wealth here. We're talking about like spiritual wealth or spiritual riches that come with doing this kind of practice and work. And myself, I've been doing a lot more pranic healing lately, and just the meditations, the cleansing and that goes with it. And I've just noticed also that the messages and I guess the drop-in or the downloads come in from spirit in a certain way that it's much easier to perceive the language. We also have the Knight of Disc and the Ace of Swords. So it is about practice. The Knight of Disc is not about, it's like an instantaneous thing, even though it might be for some. They may have done like pre-work and things. But yeah, the Knight of Disc, it is about like, let's get into the practice of doing this every day. It's more for like the longness of the journey. I don't think I'm using the right English word. But yeah, we've got the Ace of Swords here. And this is where we break through all of this clouded energy, all of these things that come in to try and, I guess, close us down, or this veil that we talk about spiritually. And we see this beautiful crown. And for me, this sword, being in green, is also like heart energy. So that being one of the vital things that's used to actually call forth this. So with pranic healing, it's super important to use the heart and the crown. I'll just say that. These are the 2 most important chakras to develop in terms of like spirituality and evolution as a spiritual being, as well as like for our, oh gosh, there's another show. Our energy is being harvested and hijacked essentially by some of the darker narratives. So if we can develop these spiritual tools, we also then get the eyes to see. So really important to make sure that we're growing these chakras and working with, spiritual protection as well. So hopefully that helps to tap in a little bit more into what we can do and the importance of angelic connection. But it all seems to be originating from strengthening our auric bodies, our connection to higher self and to that golden solar angel. And then we go out into the wider spiritual mansions and these seats of ascension and, other amazing things like the Akashic records. And yeah.
Wow. Beautiful message.
Beautiful cards.
Mm-hmm. I was reminded too that there's the idea that we need to raise our vibration to meet them. They can't necessarily come all the way down to us. And so I feel like there's a lot in there about that personal responsibility to do your shadow work, to work on yourself, to practice, like you said, raising that frequency and vibration, establishing your own energy field, because if you're going to go out exploring, you want to have like a safe, secure, ship to travel in, right?
Yeah. And I guess like what Corbin said as well, with that breastplate, I was really reminded of that when we saw the Queen of Swords, and she's all about taking the mask off. So it's like, we're also taking off the ego too when we're receiving messages, because you have to be in this space of sort of like non-duality and receiving. And when we bring through messages as channels, we don't want to be just sort of like putting our own spin on it or sort of like regurgitating things. You want to make sure that you have that pure connection, that we're not, it's always about transmitting the exact words that spirit brings. We don't want to change them or mix them. We want to keep it in its entirety and its purity as well. And yeah. Sorry, guys, I can sometimes go off on tangents.
No, the tangents are spirit-led, so.
Here they are.
Yeah, I've had as much fun talking on this show as I've had listening to everyone else. So
same. I can't wait to have a part 2 and to hear more of your experiences and more of the astrology. That was just mind-blowing. Just hearing some of the connections and just, I highly encourage you guys to get sessions like Soul Tribe. If you haven't had a session with Jake or Corbin yet, please go and get a session. And I can't wait for the fairy show or your fairy gathering on the weekend. I'm so excited to come to that.
I'm so excited. And I had saved Tanya's comment from earlier because she said, I was in a blue fairy world during a meditation. I'd love any insight you have. And to that, Tanya, I say, come to my event on Saturday. we can tap into that and get you some more insight, which I'll pop up that graphic here for a moment for anyone who would like. Grab the tickets, link in my bio. And if you go to my website, Ray of Light Hypnosis, you can find your way there too. But yeah, it's going to be a really fun event. And I'm so excited for Soul to be there. And of course, Corbin will be there with us too. And I know quite a few Soul Tribe in the chat have gotten their tickets as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I definitely encourage y'all to come. And then did you want me to pop up your bookings at all, Soul, with your discount?
Oh yeah, if you don't mind, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. I forgot to bring up the page because I'm so excited to go down the angel rabbit hole today.
Oh, you're fine.
But yeah, I do feel, just to sort of like end on a little bit more protection as well, I do feel that there are sort of darker, nefarious things trying to attack those that have like angelic DNA or angelic soul overlays and things too. So this is where we were saying before about like protection. Making sure you're doing the energy work and clearing and things. And you can always pop yourself incognito. So you can always pop that cloak of invisibility, just like in Harry Potter, if you feel like, there's trouble, or call on the angels like Jake and Corbin shared their experiences as well. Yeah. Oh, Lorianne's telling me, don't forget about Soul Alchemy Potion.
Well, absolutely.
There's still the sale on for that with the bundles. There's 20% off because a lot of people are getting them as Christmas gifts, whether they're buying a pack for people or whether they're like individually, buying and then separating to have multiple presents. I've seen people do both. But yeah, this is solreta.com. These are all the sessions that I have up as well. And I will be having the hypnotic subliminals coming out. Hopefully in the next week or two, I'm still perfecting. And I've already noticed a shift and change with reprogramming my own subconscious with them, which was a big part of the inspiration. My clients asking for new tools to work with, and also myself going, you know what, there's certain things that I can't find a product for out there. I'm just going to have to create it. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, the code is MAGIC20 to save 20% on my bookings at the moment. So thank you guys so much for this amazing show and the incredible artwork that you guys did for the thumbnail. I love it. And for our Soul Tribe, thank you guys.
Yeah, I love you guys. I did just want to plug though, they do make great gifts. We recently gifted a bag of abundance potion to one of our good friends. And tea is such a great thing for anyone who's just like a little bit woo. You don't have to be too woo to like be into tea. And so it's a wonderful way to just, spread the love and to support the community as well. So I love that.
Thank you guys. Well, I'm making little potion kits for my nieces for Christmas. Luckily, they're not listening. But it's fun for all ages. We all have a bit of magic.
Oh, absolutely. And I wanted to remind you guys as well that I am doing, if you go to my website and you go to my bookings, you'll see that I also have 10% off of all of my one-on-one services for the month of December. So if you've been on the fence or you're looking for a powerful way to start out the new year, like you as long as you book in December, you'll get that discount. You can book into January. My books are open for a couple of months here. But any of those sessions, and especially if you were like, oh, that angel lifetime, so cool, book a future visioning session and I can bring you to your future lifetime. And maybe it was also an angel. We'll see. I love the intentions that people come into sessions with. And sometimes we go there and sometimes that's what the higher self shows and sometimes not. But you certainly can set your intentions of what you'd like to see, whether it be angelic or ET or whatever else you're looking to explore.
Oh, please keep us updated too if you get more angelic sessions and things come through.
I told Corbin that we need to go back and check out that lifetime more and explore a little bit. So at the very least, I'll be bringing Corbin back to that lifetime. But I feel like oftentimes when we have shows or I'm talking about a topic a lot, those clients end up gravitating towards me. And so I wouldn't be surprised if angels show up in a session this month.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. All right, guys. Well, I love you both, and I love our soul tribe as well. So thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, love you all. Thank you so much. We'll see y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.